So, anyway, good morning everyone. So my name is Damien. Just proposed to do this lightning talk because that's the topic I've been asked to share a few times when I was doing a presentation this afternoon. So the whole idea, the use case is when you get started into automation, and as Hank showed yesterday, it's super important to have something you can run on your laptop that will help you prepare your changes and make sure everything is ready before you actually send your change for review and all that. And having something on everyone's laptop sometimes can be very challenging. You get into those like, we don't have the same version of Python, we don't have the same library, we don't have the same configurations, every file system is different, and you get into all those issues, people get frustrated because what you're doing on your system doesn't work on their system, and you spend a lot of time and people just like, hey, I don't like that, it doesn't work, and then they give them a way to go to their old way. So what we've been doing at Roblox is we're heavily using Docker, and the way... Yeah, no, I'm gonna switch. I was trying to do that right now. The way we are doing it at Docker, at Roblox is we are heavily using Docker. And so if you're not super familiar with Docker, you don't really need to be an expert, but the idea is that you can, Python has virtual environments and all of that, but it's still something that you need to execute on one laptop and install on your laptop. What Docker provides, which is really great, is it provides a way to basically create a virtual environment, package it, and that becomes a unit that you can deploy anywhere. And so I just created this very simple project to show you. For example, let's say I want to start a new Ansible project. And the way it's going to look like is, first I will have my requirement file, which is usually, I think, people have been looking at Python as well, or familiar with like, you have the version of Python, whatever dependency you have. And then I'm going to create a Docker file. And what I define in this Docker file is very simple. I just say, I want to be based on a very specific version of Python, for example, 3.7. And then I tell the Docker file to copy these requirement files inside my container, and then just install that. And basically what you will get is you'll get a container, Python 3.7, and the very specific list of library that you want. And then you can package that in. And if you ask anybody else, you give this repo, they will have exactly the same environment. And then I'm using what Hank was showing yesterday, these make files to help use that. So basically, what I have here is I have first a shortcut that helped me. If you're not familiar with Docker, you need to build the container. It's basically going through this list of these Docker files to create the container I'll show you. And then the trick I'll show you after is you start the container the way you will start, for example, the CLI. And when you do that, to avoid having to rebuild the container every time the file changes, you basically tell Docker to do a volume mapping between your local directory, where you have all your files, and the container. Meaning you don't have to copy your Ansible playbooks and all of that inside the container. They're on your local file system, so you can use your text editors, you can use like whatever you're using the same way if it is local. It's just the execution that happens inside. So let me show you quickly. So here you see I have exactly the same directory, Docker files, make files, I have a simple playbook. And if I do make build, what's going to happen, so I already did it before, but basically it just went through the list and it installed and it created a container that is called Damien Netbox Builder, I forgot to change his name, and 001. And then, and basically, when I start the container, so these instructions, what it meant is just like, hey, whatever is my local current directory, map that into the containers, into the directory called source. And when you start the container, make the directory called source has the active directory. So now I'm inside the container. I see that because I have, those weird names. But technically, I have access to all my files that are on my file system. If I create a new file here, then I will see it here. And if I run Ansible from here, I will add exactly the right versions and all that. So with that, we were able to ship and make changes all the time and ensure that we never had any time somebody that was complaining that what I was doing was not working in this environment and so on. To take that even a little further, how many minutes do I have? 4 minutes. One thing that so I prepared another branch where I took this project just a little further. Is, for example, more than Python or more than specific library, what I found also sometimes is very challenging is make sure everybody has the same configuration, for example, for Ansible. So having this system, it's easy to define the configuration for Ansible. And here's, for example, I personally, it's super important for us that everybody's using the merge behavior for the hashes, a few things like that. And when I create the Docker files, I can also define like some environment variable that ensure, and I say, I want Ansible to use this specific configuration file. And what's interesting, and if you look even inside the configuration files, because you're inside the container, you don't have any guesses about the path and the file system and all of that. Everything is super predictable. So you can very clearly define exactly where are, for example, if you wanted to, something that's super useful in Ansible is the Jinja plugin, Jinja filter, sorry. So I love really creating my own Jinja filter, and if I wanted to have my own directory, I will just say, okay, Ansible, look for Jinja filter in this specific directory. And here I have my own directory that I created, and I created my own Jinja filter. And just having that packaged this way, make it super reproducible. I'm 100% sure if I gave that to you, you will be able to run the playbook and not run into an issue. And then we can make that way more complicated. I wanted to do a quick demo about this Jinja filter. So the way then it works, like for example, here I made a change to my Docker file. So what I need to do now is I need to actually change the tag, the versions, to make sure that a given Docker file and a given way I build this container is defined by a specific version. So now if I say I want to use the version 2, just have to rebuild super fast, because if I didn't change the library, there's this cache system in place that really helps. So here I have this new container, the name is still wrong, actually change that, but whatever. And then now if I go in CLI, I'm in my new versions, and I can run my playbook. And hopefully, this will work. That was good.
You got to save the file.
What did I forget?
Ansible config.
That's interesting. That was the risk of their live demo. I took it. Just for my defense, I prepared this presentation half an hour ago. But nonetheless, the concepts are there. I'm running out of time. If you're interested, I might actually put everything in GitHub. So the few files that I created. So Garros/Docker-. And I think I'll leave now to Jeremy and John to talk about NetBox.
Damien.